Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at True Believers, The Criminally Insane Masters of Evil, Issue 1. This is a 2020 reprint of a classic Marvel story, like all the True Believers issues, which are all number ones because that's part of the marketing strategy, I guess. The original issue that this is a reprint of is 1963's Avengers number 6. So Volume 1, Issue 6 of the Avengers is of course a classic written by Stan Lee, drawn by Jack Kirby, inked by Chic Stone, and lettered by S. Rosen. Now, this is one of the first appearances of Captain America in the Silver Age. Remember, he was thawed out in issue 4, so now he's joined the Avengers as a member, but there's a lot more going on. We start off with Cap testing out a new mechanism for his shield that Tony has invented for him. It turns out that Iron Man created sub-miniature transistors. When this was written, there were no microchips, so transistors were top-of-the-line electronics, so that's what that's about. They just didn't have anything else. It's weird that Captain America's shield can open up and reveal electronics inside of it, because the shield's not that thick, and I don't remember ever seeing that before. This was a thing that was dropped at some point because it's kind of ludicrous, but the internal mechanisms would respond to Cap's glove, which would allow him to manipulate the shield. And so instead of what we more popularly know as Cap just angling the shield off stuff, in fact, in this storyline, he was able to use these magnets. It also held his shield against his glove. Well, then we jump over to South America, and in the jungle there is in fact where Baron Zemo is hiding out. And he has a tribe full of servants, and of course, since he was working with the Nazis, he is a wanted criminal. But his mask is stuck to his face because of adhesive X, which is something that he was experimenting with for his overlords when Captain America busted in and sprayed a bunch of it on his face by kind of accident from the look of it. And that's why he is angry at Captain America. Baron Zemo is also the guy who launched the rocket that cost Bucky his life and got Captain America frozen. So there's some revenge issues on both sides. Now Zemo decides to recruit some supervillains and create his own super team called the Masters of Evil. So he recruits the Black Knight to spray adhesive X all over the place. He gets the Melter, who is capable of damaging Iron Man's armor. He also gets the Radioactive Man, who is capable of repelling Thor's hammer. And then Zemo himself shows up on the scene, and Cap and Giant Man get stuck because of the adhesive, but thankfully the Wasp has an idea. She remembers that Paste Pot Pete fought the Torch a while ago, which was in Strange Tales 110. It's nice because they tell you where all these original encounters happened, but she remembers Paste Pot Pete, so she knows that he's a master of adhesives, and the warden at the jail offers to shave some time off if he helps the Avengers, and he's more than happy to do that. So he explains that he did have a super dissolver that was contained within this large barrel that could dissolve pretty much any adhesive, and he is a master of adhesives, so it's a nice thing to have around just in case things go a little wrong. So he provides them with what they need to remove the adhesive. Now, that's something that Baron Zemo hadn't thought of, is that the Avengers might actually find a fix for the adhesive. So he's given that idea by one of the other Masters of Evil, and he's hoping to get his cowl removed that way. Well, things don't quite work out for the Masters of Evil once the Avengers come up with a plan, and things go pretty bad for their villainous enemies. Although one of them does escape, it's a pretty fun resolution. Overall, this was actually a really good story. Now, because it is Silver Age, there's a lot more talking, and everything's a lot more condensed. The talking, thought bubbles, and caption boxes are there to explain what's going on so it's not dragged out. And it's basically to move the plot along. It's also partly due to the fact that this is aimed at much younger audience, so certain things have to be explained to kids. And I was actually really impressed. This held up really well. There was one inconsistency that kind of bugged me, other than the stupid transistors inside a Cap's shield thing. That was a little hokey. But when Cap first gets glued, he's glued from the knee down because he was kneeling. Later on, like a couple pages later, he's standing up. That kind of bugged me because it's an inconsistency, because he wasn't standing when he first got glued. It's a trivial point to be upset about though. But if you're looking for a great all ages book, this is definitely one that holds up really well, both for young readers and older readers. I thought it was entertaining. Yeah, a few parts are pretty silly, but overall it was a good time, and I was pretty happy with it. The only other thing I took issue with was Rick Jones is called Rick Brown throughout the entire book, and this goofy teen brigade they had was pretty silly, but it's a good all ages story, and for being from this era of the Silver Age, it's actually pretty easy for adults to read it as well as kids, and that's generally not something I came across with Silver Age stuff. It's usually a little bit more aimed at much younger readers, and I thought this being accessible to older readers is a really nice selling point. So if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars to get the actual Avengers number 6, you should be able to track this down for less than the price of a new issue. And I actually found this in one of the local comic shops for the cover price of $1. They had a whole stack of these things sitting on a spinner rack of all things, and I would absolutely pay $1 again for this. It was a lot of fun to read, and it's an issue that I had never read before, and I wish Marvel would actually reprint a lot more stuff under the True Believers line, because although the paper quality isn't the best, that's also true on their regular books. And at $1 or $2, it's definitely worth it. And I've said before that I would like to see these True Believer books available at dollar stores, because I think they would sell really well there. And they don't have to pay for new art or new stories. They could just reprint old books the way Marvel Tales used to. So yeah, this is a definite must read if you're an Avengers fan. It's got the Masters of Evil in their first team appearance, and it's a couple characters in here that you really don't see very often. The original Black Knight, who's not Dane Whitman, the Melter, and the Radioactive Man. He pops up occasionally, but not nearly as much. But the Melter, I haven't seen him in ages. And Baron Zemo all working together. That's a really fun idea. It's a great single issue story that is absolutely worth the cover price, or at least the cover price of a new issue. So if you can find this for $4 or $5 or less, I would say pick it up. Should be able to find it for $1 or $2, probably in a discount bin somewhere. They made a lot of these, and a lot of shops were buying them because they were cheap. And like I said, I got it for $1, so I would definitely recommend this. Also, the cover is dynamic. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely a solid cover overall. It does give you an idea of what's happening. So, not the greatest cover for Avengers, but also not the weakest one I've ever seen. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.